Hey guys, Marisa at KitchenTableStamper.com. Today I want to run you through another Camp Wanna stamp badge. We're going to walk through the Mammal Studies projects. In this video, we're going to make this adorable Hogs and Kisses card for our Mammal Studies badge. The other half of the Mammal Studies badge is this really cute house treat box. And wait till you see what's inside. We're going to do this in part 2 of the Mammal Studies. I'll link those videos up below the video. Inside the house is Hogs and Kisses. How cute is that, right? Let's work on the card and we'll go through the Stampin' Up products that we need to complete the project. Okay, so for dies, I've got my stitched shapes framelits and my layering circles. And then I'm using Jar of Love and Everyday Jars framelits to do this fun little swag of flowers. The pig is from this Little Piggy. And I used the tree rings background stamp on my card base. My Stampin' pads are Daffodil Delight, Basic Gray, Blushing Bride, and Flirty Flamingo. I've embellished with a little bit of clear wink of Stella and also some basic pearl jewels. I'm going to color my piggy with the watercolor pencils and aqua painters. And my consumable supplies for this project include a powder pink card base. This is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4 1/4. There is a project sheet printable on the blog. You don't have to write down these measurements, they'll be there. I have one of the Whisper White Doilies from Stampin Up. Okay, I've got a large scallop circle cut from Basic Gray. About 3 inches square will get you plenty of cardstock for that shape. This is the largest stitched circle and I cut that from watercolor paper. I've got scraps of Daffodil Delight, powder pink, and Flirty Flamingo. And then I die cut ahead of time some little leaves, and that's from the Everyday Jars framelits. Okay, I'm all set up here. I've got my Stampin Pierce Mat and my ink pads and the scraps of various colors. I've also got a little piece of scratch paper here that I can use to protect my Stampin Pierce Mat. I'm going to start with this little Daffodil Delight flower, and I'm going to ink up the background image, stamp off, and then stamp my flower. Then I've got the detail of the flower, and we're going to stamp that first generation, full strength, right on top. So we've made a pretty little buttercup looking flower. And I've got these bitty little, it almost looks like an eyelash. We're going to stamp that inside the flower with Basic Gray. There's our little yellow flower. Now we've got a powder pink and a Flirty Flamingo, and we're using the same stamp on it, so we're going to start with our lighter color so we don't have to wash in between. We've got our powder pink, and we're stamping the background of the flower image. Now we want to pay attention to which way the little excess polymer is, because that'll help us to line up our die later. I'm pointing that polymer arrow down. And we'll be careful not to mix that up when we move it to die cut. It'll make it easier to line up the die. I did Flirty Flamingo with the same stamp, stamped off, and then stamped my background. Now we've got a little detail image that coordinates, and we're going to make sure that little extra bit of polymer is pointing down. We'll pick up some Blushing Bride and stamp it on our powder pink flower. See, the little details are stamped right in there, and then we can move straight to Flirty Flamingo and stamp our details. So there's our little pink flowers. Now let's stamp our little piggy dude. Got watercolor paper here and the Basic Gray archival pad. You want to give the line image some time to transfer. The watercolor paper has just a little bit of texture. We want a nice clean image. Now we'll move aside the Stampin Pierce Mat and bring in the Tree Rings background stamp. We're going to ink that up with Blushing Bride. I've got my powder pink card base. I'm going to lay it right on top of the tree ring stamp. And then I'm going to take my little scratch paper and a small block and just burnish that background. Okay, feel pretty good about that. Got a pretty nice image there. Now I'm going to take a sponge dauber and the Blushing Bride ink, and I'm just going to really gently sponge all four edges of my card. Okay, I'm looking for a subtle effect. I'm happy with that. Now before we get the big shot, let's bring Little Piggy in here and color him up. Got my aqua painters and my watercolor pencils. I'm going to use, let's see here, some Old Olive for the grass, some Early Espresso for the hooves and ground, and some Calypso Coral for my piggy. Now what I'll do is I'll take my Calypso Coral and I'll lightly color in the snout and the back ear, because those are going to be kind of shadow areas. And then I'm just going to color around the edge of my little pig here, all the way around. The back leg I'll color in solid but very light. Same with this one. The front leg will just go down the sides of. Okay. Now I've got my aqua painter here, and I'm just gonna very lightly swirl and blend the pink from the edges to the inside of this little piggy. Since my card base is powder pink and I'm using a Calypso Coral, I'm going for a very light effect. Okay, I'm pretty happy with the effect there. And I overblend so easily, so I'm just putting down the aqua painter. Actually, I'm not going to just put it down. I'm going to grab my scratch paper and clean it off, because we're going to move to another color now. Now for little hooves on my pig, I'm going to color them in solid with the Early Espresso and just leave them alone. I'm not really going to blend that. And then I'm going to work in the ground under her little feet. Now using those same little circles, I'm just going to blend the Early Espresso and make the ground that she's standing on. Okay, cleaning my brush again over here off the screen. And now with the Old Olive, I'm going to go over these little sprigs of grass here, and then just a little white shadow above that Early Espresso. And I'm going to blend that and kind of soften out the Old Olive line. Clean my brush, and there she is. Look how cute. All right, I'm gonna get the big shot and we'll die cut our flowers next. Okay, I've got my big shot and I'm going to line up my little flowers here. And that looks pretty good. It's gonna cut those two powder pink Blushing Bride combination at once. We'll have to run a second pass for the Flirty Flamingo. I'm gonna cut out this Daffodil Delight little flower. All right, I'm gonna make this pass and then the next one on the Flirty Flamingo, and then I'll cut back in. Okay, I've got my second pass here. My little flirty flamingo flowers are done. And you remember I said that I pointed the little bit of excess polymer down when I stamped. And if you look at the die, it's got a little indicator excess here, and that's also pointed down, and that made for easily lining up this die with these flowers. Okay, here we are, and we're ready to assemble. So let's get some dimensionals on the back of our little piggy circle, and I'm going to go with 4 because it's kind of a big circle. My adhesive is all exposed, and I'm going to center that on the scallop circle. Now with the snail adhesive, we can put a little bit here and center our little piggy on the doily. Looking good. All right, okay. I've got some multi-purpose liquid glue, and we're going to glue on the leaves. Now, I want to snip these pretty close because what we'll do is add a bit of glue to the back here, just the back of the little stem of the sprig, and then we're going to slide it right underneath our watercolor paper layer and tuck it in. Same thing with our other piece here, just on the stem, and then we'll tuck that one kind of opposite. See? Cute, right? Okay, now our flowers. We're not going to use all 4. We're going to use the 2 small and the 1 larger. This one you can set aside for another project. And we're going to add these little guys with a little bit of multi-purpose liquid glue to this little watercolor panel. Be careful not to overlap your sentiment. And to make sure that they're wide enough that they still show once we've got the Daffodil Delight flower on there. Okay, now I've got a mini dimensional, and I'm going to put 2 on this Daffodil Delight flower, but towards the top half of the flower, because the bottom half is going to overhang the edge of the watercolor paper a little bit. And put it at a little bit of an angle. And the nice thing about the multi-purpose liquid glue is it's a little bit forgiving. So I think my flirty flamingo flower needs to come out a little bit more, so I can give it a little pull. And there it is. Now the Wink of Stella pen and the basic jewels, we're going to embellish our flowers. And I've got these little basic pearls here. We're going to use this medium size pearl. One in the center of each of these little flowers. All right, now let's get some snail adhesive on the back of our doily here, and maybe and center our little piggy right to left, but high of center. And now for a Wink of Stella. Let's get just a little bit of clear Wink of Stella on the petals of our flowers here. It's the tiniest bit of sparkle. The camera might not pick it up, but it sure makes a difference. Okay, so there's our Hogs and Kisses card. And again, here's our little house treat. I'll link to this video if you've got any questions about Stampin' Up, or if you've got questions about Camp Wanna Stamp. If there's anything I can do to help you stay crafty, email me, marisa@kitchentablestamper.com. Thanks for watching.